But before we depress Ugandans, I think we need to give them some positive news on what made the headlines also this week. And we are talking the Standard Guage
Railway.
I hope you know about that. Because, to just give perspective, when this railway line was being launched by the 5 presidents, there's a quote that Museveni said, and it was typical of him with statistics, and they give perspective. I applaud him for that. And he quoted and said that a 40-foot container costs US dollars 3,500 from Mombasa to Kampala by road. But if there was a railway station, it would, and a system, it would cost 1,500. That would be cutting the cost with more than a half. Yeah. And he said a similar container in Peking, Beijing, in Shanghai, China, would cost less than 1,500 for transport. So the prices that we have and the issues there is what he says prompted for this project that would be in Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, DRC, and South Sudan by extension. And the total cost of that is 75 million euros that have been released by Uganda. Of course, the total cost for all the 273 kilometers is way huge. It's in trillions, but Uganda has finally released its part after a long wait. In fact, it was supposed to be released in April, but it has finally been released. And we can tell that the construction is going to begin with the 75 million euros to kickstart the project. What do you say in terms of savaging our reality of the transport system and the cost of trade in this country?
Well, I think that, one, I've used the SGR. I've been to Mombasa and back through Nairobi, from Nairobi to Mombasa and back, and watched its cargo thing. I think what it is going to do to Uganda is that if we have enough political will, you know, the SGR will be a really, really, really good development. Brings the cost of goods down.
Very.
Depopulates our roads that are already congested.
With trucks.
With trucks. Because a single carrier a single, thing can carry a load that maybe 50, so many trucks can carry. Imagine we get them off the road in Namamve, in
Jinja
Kampala Highway. The roads get less burdened, congested.
The wear and tear reduces.
Yes, but also the cost of doing business goes significantly down. And as someone who is in that kind of line of business, I think it's going to be a very, very welcome development. Because you see, even when the colonialists, the British, came, when you look at where they put the railway, you're going to look at, of course, back then, the roads were not good. Most of the places were still bushes. But they took the railway to where they were getting commodities from. Kasese, where they were getting cobalt and everything. And all the places where they were getting
where there was business interest.
Yes, where there were ginneries.
Ginger for the manufacturing and the factories.
For the goods, the raw materials, coffee and whatever that people were producing. That in every place that production was happening, whether in mining or agriculture, they extended a line to ease the access, but also to cut down the cost of production. So I think that it's a welcome thing, and I hope that we shall have the political will. And when I talk about the political will, I remind you about what we're discussing about here on this same podcast about roads. A road is planned, takes 5 years, compensation becomes an issue. Then by the time you realize it, a road that was supposed to take maybe, let's say, 20 billion is now, they're saying
almost
it's now
double, yes.
It's almost double or more than.
So these 273 kilometers that we are talking about will be what will stretch from Malaba border to Kampala. But the bigger plan is that after it reaches in Uganda, there's an extension of 1,724 kilometers that will be extending in Kigali, in Congo, and in South Sudan, which will be very wonderful news to the people that trade in South Sudan.
I think, honestly speaking, this is a very good development if we can follow it through. But also, as we plan the standard gauge to pass through all these countries, we need to strengthen our diplomatic relations, because we are putting the SGR in a country that previously closed its borders to us and partially opened it. Up to now, I don't think the borders are fully as operational as they used to be before the incident in our southwestern neighbors. Kenya, every often than not, they ban our eggs from going there. Then we ban their charcoal from coming in. Then they say now your maize has aflatoxins, it can't come in. Then we keep that squabble. They also been having squabbles with Tanzania.
Yes.
They ban this, Tanzania bans that. Very retaliatory, you know. And Rebecca Kadaga, the honorable, had done really, really well to try to stabilize the tensions.
And of course, the realities of what the East African community was meant for.
Yes, and of course you have Sudan, very problematic neighbors. But the one that I'm excited for is Congo. We've tried to construct a road there, but because of the tensions, but there is a lot of potential in the Congo that you can tap in. A market of 80 million people is something that we should be really, really, really excited about.
Arua is a booming city because of Congo's neighborhood.
Yes,
and it should actually form a blueprint of how much trade can open where there's preparation for it. The people go to Arua actually and cause inflation.
Yeah, they do.
Just by crossing a border. And with the extension of the roads and how much more the government can do, except for, we know the sad story of what happened when our generals went there and how much we have to pay from the International Court of Justice ruling and everything. And I think the ICC ruling. But the issue is, can we be disciplined enough to implement these perfect plans on paper and put the country in a good place? So if this is implemented as it is, it would be a very big win for our trade and ease the movement of the people.
I think at the end of the day, that's why I started with saying, I hope we have the political will. Because where there's a will, there's also going to be a way. But where there's no will, things are going to come on board, everyone is excited, and the scavengers are there to benefit from, you know, some of the sectors of that construction. It just never kicks off. But I'm delighted about the news of the SGR. It should change people's lives. But like I said, we must be strategic in securing these alliances and to make sure that, you know, there is seamlessness in business transactions. Otherwise, if the SGR is here and people can't take eggs, can't bring in maize, can't do this, can't send foodstuffs to Rwanda, can't import from the Congo, then what's the purpose?